Let's talk about Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors were red hot to start off this season. They were 12-3 in their first 15 games. They were playing red hot defense, and they were amazing from three. And I'm talking about Buddy Hield and Stephen Curry. Since starting 12-3 over the last 2 months, they're 10-20. And one of those losses happened on MLK Day, and they lost to the Boston Celtics by 40 points. Granted, Draymond Green was out, and he is still out right now as I record this video. He's dealing with a minor injury, and Jonathan Kuminga was out for that matchup. But you still have Stephen Curry. You don't expect to get blown out by 40 points when you face off against the Boston Celtics, a team that you defeated just a couple of years ago in the NBA Finals. And it seems like that's going to be the last NBA Finals appearance for the Warriors for quite some time. When I look at the Golden State Warriors right now, this is a byproduct of what has happened with this front office. This is why Bob Myers decided to step down. He saw the writing on the wall. The management with the Warriors over the last 5 to 6 years has been piss poor at best. They went out there after that 2019 series against the Toronto Raptors when they lost their finals against Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry. That's the series that Kevin Durant went down with an Achilles injury and Klay Thompson went down with an ACL injury. The next season, they had D'Angelo Russell, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green. But obviously, that was not good enough for them to contend in the Western Conference. So they had an off year. They had a chance to either go out there and push all those draft assets that they had, and they had some high draft picks, push those to other teams and bring in some veteran players that can help out the roster and help extend the clock with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green at the time. Or they can try to go out there and do the impossible. Win now and develop for the future. And that's what the Golden State Warriors attempted to do. Now, the problem with that, it rarely ever works in the NBA and it rarely ever works in sports. When you have a bunch of guys in their mid to late 30s working out with guys that are either 18, 19 years old or in their early 20s, it's two different timelines. Those guys are not ready to win right now in their 20s, but those 30-plus-year-olds, they're ready to win right now because they're in their prime. And that's what the Warriors ran into. So instead of selecting LaMelo Ball, they selected James Wiseman over him. James Wiseman was a very good big man coming out of high school. He was one of the best players to have in the country. And at college, he ran into a situation, he didn't play much. But the Golden State Warriors, they were looking at him, a guy that could be a potential stretch big, that could play very good defense. You do the pick and pop with him and Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, and you have Draymond Green at the 4 position, you're cooking with something. But you have to have this kid to go out there and fully develop. Well, James Wiseman couldn't catch on with the Golden State Warriors. He was not a good basketball player, and he could not stay healthy. So they traded James Wiseman. You also had Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was actually a very good player with the Golden State Warriors until he got punched in the face by Draymond Green. So they shipped him off for CP3 to the Washington Wizards. You traded him for CP3. Now, don't get me wrong. CP3 is far from a scrub. Even in his old age, CP3 can still go out there and set up an offense and put guys in the right situations. But you traded one of your best young players for the future for CP3 because Draymond Green punched him in the face. And for the ones that don't know who CP3 is, that's Chris Paul. Draymond Green should have been the guy that got traded. He went out there and he did something completely terrible. You never put hands on your teammate. And it would have been a completely different situation if the video didn't get leaked out to TMZ. Everyone saw that video, and it messed with the head of Jordan Poole. He still had to go out there and play with Draymond Green, and the chemistry was off. So it's last year with the Golden State Warriors, he was not efficient, and he was in his own head. He was taking a lot of terrible shots. You look at Jordan Poole now with the Washington Wizards. He's more comfortable, and he's a top player with that organization. They can use him right now. They can have a guard rotation of Jordan Poole, Stephen Curry, LaMelo Ball. But instead, they don't have that. They also have Moses Moody, who is with this organization. You could have went out there and brought in a guy like Trey Murphy. He was still available, who is a very good 3-and-D player with the New Orleans Pelicans. But you wanted Moses Moody instead. You have Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga has been the best young player they have selected in that draft class with James Wiseman and Moses Moody. But this is the problem with Jonathan Kuminga. He is too inconsistent to be in the starting lineup. And that has really hurt Steve Kerr with his flexibility to the starting lineup. Jonathan Kuminga, some nights he'll get you 20, 25 points, but he's not a consistent shooter from the mid-range or from the three. And you could have easily packaged all these young players in for another veteran He could have placed that veteran with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green to at least extend the clock for just a couple more years. You're not going to have Stephen Curry and Draymond Green forever. But I look at Draymond Green, he's one of the biggest reasons to why the Golden State Warriors are in this situation. And he always comes out like he doesn't deserve any blame. He apologized to Jordan Poole, but you punched him in his face. And that was a cheap move that he did. You hurt that man's career with the Golden State Warriors, and now you want to tell him to basically get over it? I find it funny. The person that is always in the wrong, when they apologize, oh, just get over it. It's not that big of a deal. It was a huge deal for Draymond Green to go out there and punch him in the face. And Draymond Green's the same guy that went up to Kevin Durant. Man, we don't need you. We don't need you. Remember that if you're a Warriors fan? When he's on the bench telling Kevin Durant that, and Kevin Durant told him, that's why I'm out of here. And Kevin Durant did not return. Draymond Green is a cancer with the Golden State Warriors, and they should have shipped him off years ago. Very good basketball player in terms of setting screens, running the offense through Draymond, and he's an amazing defender. But you look at the technical fouls, the flagrant fouls. He's also a big part to why the Golden State Warriors blew that 3-1 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He got suspended for the rest of that series because of a dumb foul that he had in that matchup. Should have moved off of Draymond Green a long time ago. But I go back to this situation where you could have had LaMelo Ball. Franz Wagner could have been with this team. You did not select Jonathan Kuminga, and you could have had Trey Murphy. Those are very good players that you could have had with the Golden State Warriors, but you don't have those young players anymore. Instead, you're stuck with Jonathan Kuminga. He is not going to give you a lot in terms of draft conversations. He may only give you a guy that can come off the bench and give you 10 to 15 points. That's it. He's not a hot commodity in trade talks right now. The same with Moses Moody. The same with B-Pods also. Brandon Podziemski, he's only averaging 8 to 10 points a game. He always has his back turned against the basket. He's not aggressive enough. So now you're relying on Stephen Curry to go out there and give you more. But at least in the past, he had Klay Thompson to go out there and help him out on the defensive end and also on the offensive end. They don't have that. And the front office, they tried to make a trade to bring in Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was a very good player this year with the Brooklyn Nets. Since then, look at his numbers. He's shooting 36% from the field, 28% from three. He's only averaging 10 points a game. He's a negative player on the field. He's never in the positive in terms of the plus minuses. He's always in the negative. And he's not a good defender at all. And he's a streaky shooter most nights. And you're depending on him to help out Stephen Curry. And I also have to talk about Steve Kerr here. When a front office decides to go out there and make the decision to have two different timelines in terms of trying to go out there and develop young players off the bench and trying to win with your starters, at least let those young players get some minutes. So Jonathan Kuminga in the past, he had his minutes cut. And now you're depending on him to go out there and to be a superstar alongside Stephen Curry. He's not ready for that spot because you did not give him enough minutes. And the same with James Wiseman and the same with other players in the past. The one player that Steve Kerr did get right was Jordan Poole, but he was forced to put him in the starting lineup when Klay Thompson was out dealing with injuries. And not only just that, when Klay Thompson was not the same player when he came back from dealing with those injuries. So you had to push Jordan Poole into the starting lineup. Steve Kerr is one of the best coaches I've ever seen. I'm not going to take that away from him. But to see the way that he went out there and basically said Draymond Green is our guy over Jordan Poole and letting Draymond Green go out there and just create havoc on a daily basis, what does that say about his player management? What does it say about his player management with the fact that those Golden State Warriors players that you drafted, those young players, you couldn't give them those minutes. And when it's time to give those guys the minutes, they're not ready because they haven't played meaningful minutes with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, or Draymond Green. The Warriors right now are the 11th seed. They're not better than the Dallas Mavericks when they're fully healthy. They're not better with the Los Angeles Clippers with or without Kawhi Leonard. They're not better than the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not better than the Oklahoma City Thunder. All of those teams have risen up to another level, while the Golden State Warriors have went down every single year since they won that championship over the Boston Celtics a few years ago. And on that roster, it seems like they got everything right with just a span of just a couple of years. Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole was the domino that just led to everything falling out of place with the Golden State Warriors. Is it a chance that they can go out there and turn everything around? Sure it is, because you have Steve Kerr, you have Stephen Curry. But like I mentioned before, he's 36 years old. He's not going to be the same player every single night. He's not going to be able to give you 28 to 35 points on a daily basis. I'm sorry to tell you that. He needs help from Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield right now is a streaky shooter, just like Dennis Schroeder. The key to stopping the Golden State Warriors is pretty simple. You trap Stephen Curry and you force someone else to beat you with the ball in their hand. Now, when Draymond Green comes back into the lineup, obviously he's going to free up Stephen Curry for some more looks at the three-point line. But it's only so much that Draymond Green can do. Let's be honest here. Draymond Green's not setting the world on fire from the offensive end. He may give you a three-pointer a game, and that's at best. Draymond Green's not going to go out there and give you 2 to 3 three-pointers on a nightly basis. It's not going to happen. We've seen his jump shot in the past, but he's a terrific defender, especially on the perimeter. He's a great screen setter, and he can run the offense through Draymond Green. But that's just one player. So you're relying on Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, and they're in their late 30s? Where are the young players that you had? Why can't Jonathan Kuminga step up? Like I mentioned before, Steve Kerr did not help his development. Where's Jordan Poole when you need him? Oh, yeah, that's right. You traded him because of Draymond Green. Where's Klay Thompson? He's not the same player that he once was before you let him walk and go to the Dallas Mavericks. And yes, you offered him a deal. And Klay Thompson had a chance to stay with the Golden State Warriors, but he thought that he was still the same all-star that he was pre-injuries. He was not. And it's okay to admit that, so they lowballed him. It was also a situation this offseason and about them being in talks about bringing in Paul George. That wasn't going to help your matters. Paul George is a solid player, but Paul George can only do so much, especially with this roster. They should have went out there and they should have traded some of those young players for a big man like Lauri Markkanen with the Utah Jazz, who can come in and give you very good production. And that is what the Golden State Warriors are missing. A dominant big that can rebound, that can defend, and that can feed Stephen Curry in and out of the post. But they don't have that. You have Kevon Looney, and he tries his best. And you have Trace Jackson-Davis, but he can only do so much. Those are not offensive-minded centers and offensive-minded power forwards. You need guys that can come in and set those screens at the top of the elbow, and they can feed Stephen Curry, just like how Draymond Green does, to take the pressure off of Curry and Draymond Green. They should have made that trade. They also had an opportunity to go out there and get something for CP3. You could have traded Chris Paul to the Chicago Bulls for Zach LaVine. The Bulls at the time, they were begging teams to go out there, please take Zach LaVine. They're not begging anymore. The Chicago Bulls are in a better situation this year with Zach LaVine than they have been over the last 2 years, with Lonzo Ball returning back to their lineup. Zach LaVine is a very good player. You could have started him at the 1 or the 2 with Stephen Curry, and he could put a lot of pressure on the basket to take the pressure off of Draymond Green and Curry. So I look at the Golden State Warriors now. They don't want to go out there and dip into their future draft capital to go out there and make one more trade for one major run that may not work out, because like I mentioned before, the Western Conference is fully loaded. At least a few years ago, when it was fully loaded, the Golden State Warriors, they had the ammunition to go out there and shoot down those other teams with Kevin Durant, with Klay Thompson, with Stephen Curry, with Draymond Green, with Andrew Iguodala many years ago. Remember Steve Kerr's first ring with the Golden State Warriors? It was scrimped by numbers. He tried to go out there and recreate that, but unfortunately it didn't work out because you had 2 different timelines. And it's unfortunate to see the last years of Stephen Curry's career come to this, because this entire organization is not the same like how they were when Bob Myers was in that front office. And this is a huge reason to why the Golden State Warriors have not been good since he stepped down, because he saw the writing on the wall. It was only so much that you could have done with that roster. And when you're trying to go out there and develop players and also win with your veteran guys in that starting lineup. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Golden State Warriors, and can they turn things around with Draymond Green and Stephen Curry? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.